Hi,
Hello.
let's wait for another couple of minutes. Be right back. Okay. Oh yeah, I suggest we start. I think we've got. So German, I think is here. He's got two topics. Then there's Jeremy. Then I also updated one. I added one item. I don't know who added the first two. I imagine Jonathan did. So maybe I think we can update on Twitter. The decision is basically we are still waiting because the issue we have is that um, we created the account with an email address that doesn't with a domain that doesn't exist anymore, and between the transition in the transition between ADB and Cloud and the CNCF, we basically we lost control of this domain, so we are not able to for two-factor authentication to assign or to even change the emails. I tried to get in touch with Twitter, but it's impossible to get with their support. So I think we're doing a last attempt, and then if not, we will dismiss that. And there was a ticket about that, and I think the decision, in my opinion, is primarily due to this because there's no harm in keeping Twitter, uh, given that with tools now you can send one message and deliver it to many medias. So the issue is primarily that. So the other one is about the LFX mentorship. So we updated. So we've got we proposed three, but we couldn't find. Um, Actually, we found a candidate, but he bailed out the day before. A couple of days before we had to announce, and I was on holiday, so other people were also on vacation. So we believe that two are enough. So we will have cows testing with Yash Agarwal, and we've got Anushka who's gonna take care of rebuilding the entire documentation for CloudNativePG. So this is it. I think, German, I leave it up to you, okay?
Yeah, I brought Alex with me, who's working on I think we talked last time about our wall replica plugin, and Alex has started working on it. Now we hit a few vote blocks, and I will let Alex talk to that.
Yeah. Well, I would love some review. The primary, I mean, it's like a technical issue. I'm assuming I'm missing something. I can't get certain hooks to fire. Um, and I was wondering if anybody knew of any resource or somebody I could talk to that might be able to help me debug a bit or just figure out what's going on. But otherwise, it's missing some functionality because of that problem, but otherwise it does work and it is like
Well,
mostly functional.
Alex, our biggest problem is that we can't use the slot management from the plugin.
Yes, that too. I know in the docs it says that there's no way to declaratively manage the slots, but there is like internal code that would allow it. Just, it's obviously it's internal.
Yeah, and so we are wondering how should we do all that, because for the wall replica we would need to manage the slot. It needs to be we need to so I see your code is tracking the LSN. We would want to do the same. Then the other thing is when you do a failover to another node, then the slot should move. And so we would really need the slot management in our plugin. And so how do we get to that? What are your plans, Gabriela? How can we just put it out as an interface? What's the planning there?
You're muted.
Yeah, I think you're asking probably the wrong person, because I'm not anymore a developer. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm probably not the right person to ask this. So maybe I
Well,
don't know if Leonardo, Marco was here.
well, Postgres itself has a feature to replicate
Hmm.
logical slots. I don't know, is it logical or physical?
Physical, what we are looking for, yeah.
Okay, so for physical slots, the operator manage the slots. If I think it's also documented.
But
There is.
I'm not aware. I don't know the context. So I didn't see the last presentation. So I don't know if others know what
Yeah, no, do you,
what
yeah, you guys have slot management built into
operates.
in the operator. So
Yeah,
we can, yeah,
by
so we can,
default,
yeah.
the operator manages only its own slots. So
Hmm.
when it creates the slots to synchronize the other nodes, it manages
Hmm.
only that. But there's a
Okay.
flag and
Hmm.
then and a field that basically contains a regex, and you say, please replicate any slot that matches this regex.
Hmm.
So I think that should
Okay.
probably
Okay.
cover your case.
So as long as we name it the right way when we create a slot, then will get managed automatically.
The physical slots are automatically replicated if they matches the.
Yeah,
Actually,
by
I think it's the
default,
It's
no,
opposite.
the
by
opposite, yeah, it's
default,
the excluded regex.
Yeah, it is
exactly.
excluded.
By
Yeah,
default.
okay,
So these
exactly.
stuff I can answer. If it's
Hmm.
code
Yeah.
stuff, this stuff in Postgres I can answer. But
Hmm.
so yeah, so I don't have much context on that. So I mean, maybe others have,
Well, we wanna so I think we talked about this. We wanted to, so there's a wall receiver and want to use that as a wall replica. So we want to add a wall receiver node so you can have the writes persisted. So which is an option, so you can do quorum writes and don't have to run a full Postgres. And so we are adding that as a plugin. And of course, we need then slot management for the physical replication to the wall receiver.
but I mean, so you want to update the replication slots.
Yeah, we want to manage them. Yeah. So we want to run. Yeah. So yeah. We are Microsoft. We are Azure. We have three availability zones. We want to cover three availability zones. So we want to have two read-write replicas. It would be a full Postgres, and then one lesser replica, which we call the wall replica, so we can so we don't have to run a full-blown Postgres,
But
which is very expensive.
my understanding, it should not be blocked by. So
Well,
maybe I don't understand.
well, we like to tap into your slot management, not just go in and say create slot or something.
Well, but the slot management worker is made to be transparent. So what you should probably do is to create the slot using the functions inside Postgres and let the slot management system to do the rest.
Okay, so that's how things are supposed to work.
But you need permissions to do that. Because I mean, the streaming replication privilege does not. You could also do without login. Okay. But to execute commands, you also need to have login privileges. And I'm not sure if you actually need super user privileges to create replication slots.
That's another gap in the plugin interface that you don't get access to the Postgres command stuff you guys have. So you have to
adding another replica that's not a full copy of the database seems like a lot more than just backup plugin type of material, doesn't it?
Yeah. But
I mean, wait a moment. You have access to Postgres because you have access to the socket, and as long as your sidecar is running with the same user ID of the main container, you can authenticate.
Well, we want to make our own pod, so yeah, we're making our own pod. Yeah.
Okay, so no, if you want to access, you need a sidecar. It's the only reliable way to access Postgres as Postgres.
Yeah, because your operator doesn't use a sidecar to access Postgres; they do it straight from the operator.
Yeah, but I just checked. There's also it's part of the streaming protocol, the replication slot creation. So I think you should be good to create the slots, even with just the streaming replication protocol. And by the way, I think PG receive wall has, if I remember correctly, there's an option to create a replication slot as well.
Yeah, it's temporary or permanent.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so that's how we're doing it right now. The create slot command has to run separately from the actual PG receive wall, so we just run it twice. The first time creates the slot, second time connects to it.
But my advice is to be independent. I mean, to create a plugin that also, as Marco was saying, you probably need a sidecar next to the operator if you want. That's how I would use it.
Okay.
I would do it way so that you've got your kind of way to tap into the Postgres instances. It's probably that could probably do. And it could be, I mean, at the moment the issue is, you see, I don't know if you saw, but we are pushing back a lot of stuff because we are very busy refactoring a lot of the code, simplifying, removing technical debt with images as well, and we don't have much time right now for new stuff. Let's put it that way. We have a lot of things that hopefully will make us faster in the future. That's what we hope. For example, the good thing is that yesterday we decided not to make volume snapshots a plugin, so that's less work for us to do in the future. But there will be work to be done in PG Bouncer as well. So so we're trying to simplify before we add more stuff. That's the current phase, unfortunately, and we're making a lot of changes, and you see,
so
we're not doing. We could do better, but we're trying to do our best,
No, absolutely. But we definitely have our own timelines, and so we need to work alongside those.
Plus, on top of that, even as we work for a company and we have commitments there, so it's good that EDB allows us to do a lot of open source work, so that's really good. But sometimes we have also to, not sometimes, we should also do prioritize the work that comes for the company we work for, you know. So
yeah, so yeah, we will we'll definitely make it work then, and maybe not perfectly, but and then keep adjusting as you refactor, and maybe take that into consideration that we might need there might need to be more interfaces on the plugins that they can run Postgres commands, they can access the slot management more transparently and so on. Yeah. So that would be that. Yeah.
yeah, good.
I'm curious just to learn a little more about what
Okay.
you're doing, but I don't want to take up time during
No,
the
no,
meeting
no.
now.
Yeah.
Is it
No, sure, you can.
someplace I can just read a bit more about what you guys are working on?
Alex, did we write a spec for that?
Not really. I can send you a link to the repo and I'll
Yeah, we
write
can.
something up.
Yeah, or yeah, or we can meet offline. We can tell you, Jeremy, not a.
Sure.
not a
All right, let's meet
problem.
offline if you've got time later today. And
Yeah.
there's a link to the Kubernetes operator repo for DocumentDB in the agenda. So I did see that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
that's
realize you guys were
our.
working on a whole operator, not just anyway. That's why I'm curious. But
Oh yeah,
maybe
yeah. Yeah,
let's.
we can definitely chat.
I'll drop
chat
my
offline,
email
yeah.
in the chat, and you
Yeah.
can grab it, and we'll connect
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I will send you an email. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear more. You know, I remember we talked many months ago, and it's great. Also, I mean, DocumentDB now in the Linux
Yeah.
Foundation. I mean, this is all good. So
Yeah. So the operator is still under Microsoft, but we are thinking about donating that as well. So it should come somewhere.
yeah.
So.
Have you thought about donating it to the CNCF or?
So now we have the DocumentDB org.
Yes.
Or
No,
if
the operator. The
yeah,
operator.
no, it will go to the DocumentDB org we have.
Okay.
They want it there. So
Yeah.
we were thinking about it, CNCF, but then we said, well, we already have the org. Let's put all DocumentDB stuff in there.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that still under Linux Foundation somehow?
Yes.
Yeah, it is on the Linux Foundation. Yeah, it's just not CNCF. It's
sort of like being cousins, I think.
yeah. It's sort of thing.
CMPG is a Linux Foundation project.
Right.
I mean, it's actually they created a separate legal entity for CloudNativePG under the Linux Foundation.
Yeah, CNCF is special, and they have but they
Good. So yeah, for this topic, I mean, we can maybe also continue offline, or you try and let us know. Okay.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we have it working. It's just we wanted to make it cleaner, and if you're refactoring, then we just keep it there.
Well, and maybe the idea of running a third replica that's not a full copy, that's not there's a lot happening right now. It sounds to me like maybe nobody's going to start working on that next week, but at some point in the future, that could be interesting for CloudNativePG itself, right?
No, we made a plugin. It works. It's just we want to make it better.
I mean,
it works for CloudNativePG, or it only works for DocumentDB?
No, CloudNativePG.
Yeah, we built it for Cloud Native.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
And we're just
But that sounds, like I said, that's not just a backup thing. Like running a third replica as like an
it's not a
observer node.
It's just a
okay.
card.
No, it's more. It's more, yeah.
The agenda threw me off. The agenda said something about backup plugins, and I was sitting here trying to figure out.
No, we will. So we know that a lot of people would use then that third node as to aid in their backups. So that's a common use case of the right replica. But but it's
I'm definitely want to learn more now. Okay.
But it's definitely an and. So you can do it you can do it without backup and get the additional
So Barman has had that for many years. I mean, they receive also wall streaming, but so Barman, not Barman Cloud. Okay, Barman had the streaming replication method as well. So you could have both. But anyway, I think we should go to the next topic. There's still you guys.
Still us guys. So the other thing we want to do is, so we also know very well the Citus people because they're Microsoft as well. And one thing we want to do with DocumentDB is do a multi-node. And I think that's answered by what you said. You're refactoring the whole CNPG code base. And what we want and what we would like to see is another construct. So basically that you so right now CNPG is very good for single node and replica PGs. But if you do think about multi-node, you have let's say you have a coordinator and then you have like worker nodes, and how to manage those. We probably need to rethink a little bit how CNPG works. I don't think we can do that in just a plugin, because we would need because that would get unwieldy. Then you end up with, let's say, so if you do it with CNPG and do it in a plugin and you want to have like 10 nodes, then you end up with 10 databases over there, and then becomes unwieldy. When you start listing it, you get hundreds of databases. And so I think so since you're refactoring, we would definitely like to help in refactoring into that. You then have some, let's say, some kind of cluster thing or some hierarchical thing where you can say, well, this is the cluster 1 and has all those nodes underneath it to make it nicer.
Yeah, I was saying we're refactoring to simplify.
Yes.
Interest.
Yeah, I know.
More complex stuff,
Yeah, but this is yeah, you have
Yeah,
to.
no, eventually, yes, I know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We can do it by hiding it. So we have our own operator, can hide it in the operator. But then when you ever look at CNPG, you get like lots and lots of databases which might be unwieldy. So we would like this hierarchical concept in CNPG. That's our.
No, the other thing it could be to have an overarching operator that then basically you consider every node one instance.
Yeah, that's what we can do.
One cluster, then you have another operator that controls.
Yeah, we have the overarching operator already. So that's the other way we can do it, but we feel it would be cleaner and better if CNPG would have that, because then it's very DocumentDB specific when we put in our DocumentDB operator, whereas when you put it in CNPG, then other people can use it who need multi-node.
But I can say it would be good if Postgres implemented this, Postgres implemented this, it's just...
Well, there are all those extensions which do that. So there's Citus, and there probably are others. So we
are there Kubernetes constructs that could, I mean, like grouping construct? I mean, you've got labels, you've got namespaces. Like, are there any sort of Kubernetes natives that might also be something worth considering for trying to solve this problem?
Well, we can definitely go and make like 10 databases in CNPG and group them somehow else. But then if you want to interact with CNPG, you get a lot of databases. That's just
maybe
that's just the thing, and then it's not in, and then it's basically then CNPG becomes unusable because when you have too many databases,
No, maybe we could have a separate meeting about Citus where you basically, if you want, you can present 1 hour, you give us an overview, because I haven't looked in Citus for many years,
Yeah, no, it hasn't changed much, so I can tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah,
but because the study was based on foreign data wrappers, I guess it's not anymore based on foreign data wrappers, or is it still based on?
It's still foreign data. It's still doing the wrappers. It's still trying to route it other places and all those things.
So I guess there's an entry point that then distributes queries and does all
they fixed that, so they have like so they have a coordinator node which can do which is the only node which can do metadata operations, like creating tables and stuff and distributed tables, and then they changed it that all the worker nodes can also do query routing. So you can go to any other node, do your query, and that will route it to the right node and assemble your thing. So that's where they are today. But yeah, you can, so that's how that works. But you could imagine that other things which do multi-node would work similar.
It could be warehouse PG, could be another one.
Exactly, and so maybe there's a need to kind of prepare CNPG to manage something like that. Yeah.
Maybe
So
listing out.
Responding to you, Jerry, I mean, warehouse PG could be another one. I mean, so Greenplum had a very similar.
Yeah,
I was going to say maybe a starting point is just listing out.
Yes.
Just like naming two or three things just to kind of organize, because it's the concepts first. Like, just how are we conceptually thinking about what objects we need?
Yeah.
And how to model it out. So having, if you have like 2 or 3 different things that might be able to use the same model, that's really helpful.
Yeah, no, so as I said, we only know about CIDES, but we can try to do more. But I'm convinced.
No, definitely, it's an interesting idea. I mean, I don't know what the others think, but at least I'd be very happy to have just a dedicated meeting with about sizes, so that you can explain to
yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
we can definitely do that. Yeah. So yeah, it's
okay.
just let me know when it is, and
Yes,
we will
yes,
come, and
cool.
I might even invite our CIDES friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Good. Thanks.
Because we are DocumentDB inside. This is now a sister org. Yeah. Okay.
Good. So I think if you're done, we can move on.
Okay, I'm good.
Jeremy, and see what. Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So my topic for today was the quorum failover feature that was added recently by Leonardo. I think that's some amazing work. And so we're signed up to give a talk at KubeCon. I'm signed up for that. I don't feel like I'm ready at all. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, and it's 2 months away.
Me neither,
What I
Genevieve,
had
me neither.
Yeah, we need to talk. What I was thinking, though, what I have been thinking for kind of most of the summer, but then you have like kids and family and lots of things happening, so I didn't have a lot of time to work on it, was that since we got the code in, the next thing that I wanted to do was just start really hammering it with different tests. And so that was where I started looking at Jepsen, put that together over the past few weeks. It's working very nicely. There's a blog post that I put out, but there's a lot more than just what's in the blog post. So I mentioned this in a direct message to someone yesterday, but for like the last 6 days or so, I have a laptop here at home that has just a couple of VMs, and they've just been running nonstop, just doing various different experiments with Jepsen against CloudNativePG in different configurations, different failure scenarios, kind of just trying things out. Now that I have the framework in place, it's all scripted, it's very repeatable, it's very easy. You can spin up, you just sort of install a clean copy of Ubuntu on a VM, and then it's a single script. You point it at this, it's a git clone, and then you hit the script, and then just within about 15 or 20 minutes, you've got it's the playground is what it is, the CNPG playground, but it's just very quick and simple. You need 4 CPUs, 16 gigs of memory. As long as you've got that, I did a lot of work to try to dial in to figure out kind of the minimum hardware that you need to kind of reliably do a bunch of these tests, and kind of narrowed it down to that. I've tested it on Azure compute instances, on Amazon compute instances, and then most of what I'm doing is just using VMs on my laptop at home. So I don't have to pay for the compute, even though it's not really that expensive. So all of that being said, I'm at a stage where what I've been doing for the past few days is lots just kind of to get the foundation ready, a lot of testing, not yet of the quorum failover. I did kind of a little initial test of it, and it worked great on my initial test to make sure it sort of sanity checked that it was working. But so far, most of my testing has just been sort of very simple things of synchronous replication turned on, and then no sort of asynchronous replication, just to validate that my testing framework works. My expectation was that with asynchronous replication, I should pretty easily be able to induce some data loss, because if there's not synchronous replication and then you trigger failovers, if you get it right. It turns out that's a lot harder than I thought, because when everything is running like locally with Kubernetes on Docker, the replication of stuff is all happening so fast that it's even with async, it's actually kind of hard to induce data loss. But I've done a bunch of experiments. So that's what I've been doing. My next step is to really start really hammering the new failover quorum, and I'd like to just look for some different scenarios to test. So my question here, I guess, if anybody has specific scenarios, I will say the two that I had in mind off the top of my head were sort of like cascading failures or like multiple failure situations, because it's very easy to lose data. So like if you set up a 3-node cluster, even with synchronous replication going to one of those clusters, and then if you kill 2 nodes at a time, CNPG will just fail over to the 3rd node, even though you're only synchronous replicating to 1, not to 2 replicas. So you can easily have your 3rd replica by definition can lag behind. CNPG will happily fit. So things like that, it's very easy and expected. That's kind of the expected behavior without quorum. That's why we built quorum failover. So the cascading failures, like killing 2 nodes at a time, that's one situation that sort of I wanted to test. The second thing I wanted to test was 5-node clusters with network partitions, because this is the case where once you get to 5 nodes instead of 3, it's pretty easy to have if you have a 5-node Kubernetes cluster and then you do a network partition, it's very easy to have, like, on one side your Kubernetes control plane and on the other side 2 of your Postgres nodes. So you've got Postgres thinks it lives on this side of the partition and Kubernetes thinks it's living on the other side of the partition, and that would be again, without the new feature, that's the situation. So that's another thing that I definitely wanted to test. It was on my radar. So 5-node Kubernetes clusters was one situation, and these are listed in the docs. There was that's right, on the documentation page toward the bottom somewhere, there was about 4 or 5 different scenarios listed that we wrote out. But my question was if anybody had sort of like opinions about, there was a number of scenarios there. I won't have time to do everything. Like I've got a limited amount of time. I figure I can probably pick 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 scenarios to try to like set up and then run some experiments or some tests to just validate that if I turn off the feature, there's data loss, and if I turn on the feature, there's not data loss. And then I can run 8 to 10 hour long burner tests.
Don't feel alone. I mean, Leonardo is there, and we work with Leonardo every day. This is critical for us. I mean, we've put also, I think Francesco Armando, they put a lot of time here as well. Francesco did also an amazing work in documenting and testing all these scenarios, and that's why we decided also to start with the chaos testing project as well. All the talking about the split brain stuff, that CloudNativePG generates split brains and things like that. We want to make sure that I mean, we know it's not, I think it's not true, but anyway, we need stuff like this to give confidence in people, so we're not afraid to put all of this. I think we need to define the failure scenarios. I think we briefly talked yesterday, and for example, the network isolation, we need to do it with other commands. The delete pod is unfortunately, and I talked again this morning with some of the folks here. There's this belief that grace period 0 simulates the unplug of the power, but that's not true. Okay, so also for us, we have developed the operator so that if you delete the pod, we deliberately do not create another pod, because that's what Kubernetes says, what stateful sets. So when you've got stateful workloads, because of the uncertainty, they say not to recreate pods until the situation is clear. So that's a deliberate decision.
Oh, I see.
we made. So that's why even if you delete pod and you have failover delay, when it's finished, it will promote the primary, and then once that's promoted, it will recreate the initial pod. Okay, so we cannot. It's gonna be hard for us to recreate a pod in that transition and then reevaluate the condition. But I think Armando, Leonardo,
Yeah, well, and that's also where it might be actually a better test of like just unplugging the server. So, okay, the related topic here is that like, where do we run this? Like right now, just because it's cheap and easy, I'm doing a lot of testing by using Kind. So that brings some limitations into the picture because it's Kubernetes and Docker. So I think it's still valuable. I'm also sort of trying to do, I have two sort of goals. I'm trying to sort of leverage this a little bit as a potential teaching tool in the future. It's something that can become classroom exercises. And that's another reason I was spending a lot of time on Kind. It's not hard to spin up, with all the cloud managed Kubernetes services now. It's a quick API called either AWS or Azure or Google, and you can have a little 3-node cluster. So it is also possible, and some testing could be done by actually spinning up some little clusters on the cloud, and then running a test. And then you can just, well, actually, I don't know. I haven't tried to see if there's a call that they would let me just sort of instantly power off one of the compute nodes to, again, simulate pulling the plug out. With Kind, also, I could probably just network isolate like the Docker container, and that's probably a better test of like pulling the power.
Yeah.
So the idea is what happens if, for how long you keep it down, you keep it isolated.
Yeah. Well,
point...
there's two models there. The network partition test, I usually think of that as like partitioning and then rejoining.
Exactly.
The power plug pull, like that test, usually what you want to do is, if you're really simulating a power pull, then you'll network partition, and then after you've sliced off that Docker container, you would kill the Docker container and then just let it kind of reboot itself. Because that's what would happen in a power loss scenario in a real data center. Like the power is going to go out. If your UPS fails, your servers power down, and then when they power up, they reboot.
Yeah. And yes, exactly. So I think in my opinion, what we should do. So also at DDB, we are now, I mean, in our office, we're buying recycled hardware, and we are trying to build a bare metal cluster for us, just to do all this testing. And but I think if we can put together CMPG Playground, the work you've done, and then integrate the chaos testing project, so that we basically build on top of each other. So ideally, your stuff should pour in CMPG Playground, so.
Well, everything I'm doing is built on, so the CNPG Playground is becoming almost like a reference implementation to me. It's just sort of like, it's the starting point. And then every experiment that I run is sort of at the very first thing I do is a git diff, and it basically shows you what was changed from the playground, like reference configuration. The playground, it's very nice the way it's set up, because it doesn't strictly require that you're running. You guys have them in directories, so you can go into the demo directory and you can run those YAML files. It doesn't have to be on Kind, Kubernetes, and Docker. So if you want to spin up a bare metal thing, as long as you match the Kubernetes playground, and it's exactly the same with the Jepsen stuff. So all of my Jepsen scripts, it's just a Docker container, as long as it doesn't have to be in Kind. As long as you have a 3-node cluster and you've named your nodes the same way, they're all just kubectl commands.
We just need run fine. Exactly. By the way, I wanted to point out that there's also this one, the single.
That's right.
Okay, so if you don't want to, because I think you are destroying the other one, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was. Yes, I saw that, and you're right. I should switch over. Well, it's also like I could run one little command versus running. I was being lazy. I just wanted to run the one command.
No.
Actually, what I was actually doing is when it started to create, I would usually let it create the PGUS Kubernetes nodes for Kind because it didn't take that long. But when I ran the demo setup script, I would just hit Control C every time. And when it got to the US, because I didn't really need the US cluster. One question I have, I've been running the playground a lot. It's been about a month ago, I was finding that if I didn't pass in the legacy flag, I was like the new backup plugin stuff wasn't working for me. I haven't looked recently to see if anything got tweaked or fixed, but I've been using just saying legacy equals true on all of my test runs, just because there was something, I don't know really, I didn't debug it yet. But if anybody else took a look or has tried the playground or saw anything odd with that, let me know if you fix it, because then I'll switch back over to the new one.
Yeah, it could be that I need to check the versions because we released, I think, Barman Cloud plugin or 0.6 only a couple of weeks ago, and I don't think we have updated these. I think they could be.
That could be it.
I'll check. I'll check these out. Yes, and also, I mean, we want to. I mean, this is also for Alexander and German. You know, relevant. We want to build a set of end-to-end tests, generic end-to-end tests for backup solutions, so that everyone can write their own, backup tool and validate it with our end-to-end test suite. So this is also another work. I think this is probably the toughest thing left in 128. But I think
Patrick,
there's a
by
lot
the-
of lot happening in the plugin area and the backup stuff that we need to fix. So I'm not surprised that if it's still flaky. So anyway.
Real quickly, just Patrick, I did a ton of testing with traffic control. It was very not what I expected. I was expecting, like, when I started injecting like network delays for that to help. Oddly, when I started using traffic control to inject network delays, I got fewer data loss. It was really strange. My best guess is that Postgres was dropping packets like into the operating system network queues, and like the packets were still going through after I killed Postgres. I didn't go all the way down, but I tried a whole bunch. I did like 8-10 hour runs with up to 50 millisecond delays that I had injected with traffic control. And for some reason, it gave me like less data loss instead of more.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I've seen all kinds of weird and interesting stuff, and the chaos testing is fun. I love doing this. It's a bunch of like science experiments that you're doing where you just try a configuration, you have a hypothesis, you run an experiment, and then there's been so many times that I was like convinced something was going to give me like, because my goal initially was I wanted to build a lab that anybody could do and see some data loss for their own eyes and just make it simple, because I wanted to prove that synchronous replication is important, was my goal. So turn it off. And it's been a lot harder than I expected to get data loss with asynchronous replication.
I haven't used it personally, but a colleague at EDB uses ToxyProxy, which is more intended for chaos and resiliency testing. It might be, again, this is just my guess based on what he told me, but it might be easier to introduce that exact type of problems versus TC, which, as I understand, it's conveniently available as a kernel module, but it's way lower level. And I don't know if it's as easy to just, what you really want is specific types of chaos. And
yeah. Well, I was going to reach for chaos mesh, was sort of where I was planning to go. That's interesting. I can take a look at this too. There's some other people who I work with that are already using a bunch of chaos mesh internally at Geico for testing. So it's helpful to have, if I know I've got people I can ask some questions, that's an incentive. That could also be the other thing, though, that I keep wondering is like how much of this is just because I'm running in Docker containers on a single server, and like if I just ran with real VMs or real servers, a whole bunch of this noise might go away. So I don't know how much time I want to spend debugging something which is just an artifact of me being in a very artificial environment.
Right, makes sense. Right.
Yeah. I have a higher level question about the playground. I think might have one or two PRs, that pull requests that I put in, but it wasn't. I wasn't really sure how to. Yeah, adding Stern and Cube context, that should be pretty non-controversial. That you guys could probably just merge, because those are already referenced in the README and they're just missing from the next. But the top one I'm less sure about, because so I've built the lab on top of the playground, but I haven't submitted a PR for the lab, and I don't really know what direction you guys want to go. And this is an interesting one. So this one here, I'm using this because having those the port forwarding from MinIO. So it basically means that I can open a browser on my local machine and I can hit the MinIO, and there's other ways you could do this, but this lets me just quickly download all of the JEPs and test results from MinIO. Also lets you download, if you want to go poke around in the WAL files or the backups, you can do that. But this the problem is that people use the playground everywhere. I don't know if something this fits or not.
There's nothing wrong. I mean, this makes sense to me. If we just need to document that Minio can be accessed, Minio in Europe can be accessed, at this port, and Minio in the US.
Sure. And the convention the convention I took here is I put the number 1 in front for the EU, and I put the number 2 in front for the US, and then I left the port numbers the same otherwise. I think that's what I did here. Actually, I don't know why there's a :9002 on that. I need to look closer at that PR.
No.
Oh, it's a 1. Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it is. It was just the font. So that's the convention I was using, and that might be kind of a. But this is where I don't want to open the floodgates and have people submitting PRs for anything and everything without any sense of direction.
This project was created because especially I think Leonardo and I, we had to do this training at Postgres conference in Europe last year, and we wanted to have something that everyone could easily replicate, and because this is the environment where the architecture we recommend. Okay, this is what we believe. This is the most robust architecture for Postgres in production, and this is the architecture actually we had at second quadrant for managing all our Postgres, in the infrastructure, so, and it was very stable. So we replicated that architecture in CloudNativePG, and we decided to create this lab just for learning. So that's the goal. So anything you think you see that can be improved, if you want, if your lab you think is something that requires more, that is dedicated, can be dedicated, we can create another project, or we can see if we can integrate it with the chaos testing project as well. Could be another idea. Okay.
The way the lab is built right now is the entire thing is, so I just forked the playground repository. You saw it already, and the entire thing is a subdirectory underneath that. But there's a bunch of ways that could be structured. It doesn't have to be that way.
We could add. I'm okay if you want to maintain that folder. I'm okay to add that folder here, as long as, I added the demo. I added a folder for the demo and I documented it, and here I said, if you want to, you can demonstrate it. There's a demo folder. I think I'd rather have everything in a single project than have multiple projects. But anyway, that's my view. Let's see what the others. My suggestion is for you to do the PR anyway, and then we can converge there. I don't know.
I agree with you totally. Yeah.
So yeah,
if you guys are open to it, I'm happy to do a PR for the lab. It's a bunch of files under that directory. Well, it's not It's not bad. It's not a lot live. A lot of them are just like readmes.
At least we can
honestly,
converge.
like step by step. It's yeah.
At least we can converge and maybe I would separate the VM stuff from the rest. So ideally, if we could launch Jepsen on, you just need to have a Kubernetes cluster to connect to. That could probably be
I
I
think
don't
it's that way already.
Okay,
If somebody is able to try that out, I would love like hit me on Slack. I'll watch for messages and like I'll try to directly help you troubleshoot. Time zone differences notwithstanding.
Good. Okay.
But it should work. If you go into it's exercise number 3 under the labs, and like those instructions should work anywhere. You don't have to be on a VM for that.
This was your
underneath. Yeah, underneath the first screenshot, there's a link to exercise 3. Yep. I don't think anything about this requires it to be on a VM. I just think the VM is the easiest way for people to get up and running if they've never used the playground before. But all of this.
No, I mean, all of this is great. I mean, thank you so much for
work.
this, Jerry, because this is so much. I mean, seeing this work done, we've always wanted to do this, but we haven't had time to do it. So you taking the time to do this is great, you know, and to also make it public. It's a great contribution. So yeah, thanks.
Well, if somebody's able to try this out, I'd love to know, first of all, whether you're able to get through it. If there's things that are unclear, if the things that just don't even work, like when you try to run it on your own Kubernetes cluster, it's pretty simple, really. I mean, that little snippet of code, you can see it's just deleting pods. It's just one test. There's lots of ways you can do failures. And up at the top, it's just a one-liner to actually run Jepsen itself. It's just a Kubernetes job. The job spec is on the left. It's called jepsen-job.yaml. And that even itself that's pretty straightforward. It's not complicated. It's on Docker Hub. So I packaged Jepsen as a container. It's already being built. It's already built for both ARM and x86, so it should work on either architecture. I started with the official Jepsen Docker container and simplified it a bunch because I only needed there's a couple weird quirks here. I had to build from anyway, I had to go figure out all of the closure stuff in order to get this to actually work. But once it was done, it's just this. You have a couple command line flags, you just pull the container, and it should just work. But yeah, I'd love if somebody can try it out on your own.
Yeah, I think
cluster.
for the talk at KubeCon, we need to. I think this is the best way, Leonardo. What do you think, to use this work and use the failover quorum? Yeah, because Leonardo, in the next weeks, we will bring back the failover quorum to stable for 128. So from on main, we can already test the new API, you know, before 128 is out. So for the talk, you can already use the new API, not the annotation. Okay, so let me check. Okay, so are you good, Jeremy? Can we proceed, or do you need to add? Okay, thanks. No, I wanted to update. Thank you. Thanks for showing this. So I wanted to show what we've done for the roadmap for 128. So we've cleaned up a bit the roadmap yesterday, and we had to move to 129 at least. The most important thing is Barman Cloud deprecation. So when we started to deprecate Barman Cloud, we said 128 we will remove it. Okay, and we asked everyone to start moving to the plugin to test and see if it worked. So what we've done, we've moved it now to 129 tentatively, okay? And then we have also moved the declarative role management to 129. There's you can find, there's the kind of reasons behind it, and we decided to move it. To move them. The most important decision, as I was saying before, is that we've decided not to pursue making volume snapshots a plugin. The decision is documented here, and essentially the way it was developed, it was already operator driven. So we paid a lot of attention to security, and basically the coordination was happening from the operator, whereas all the other ones are primarily driven by the instance manager. So there was no real value to move that outside of the operator into a separate plugin. And most importantly, we are using a standard resource, which is volume snapshot. So because we are a Kubernetes native database, we decided that given that it's a standard resource, we want to keep it in core. There's also the work that Leonardo is doing in Kubernetes itself by adding support for volume group snapshots. Leonardo, if you want to, mention something here about what the work you're doing, I'd be very happy to leave you the mic.
In a few words, volume group snapshots are a way to create a snapshot across multiple volumes, and the snapshot is consistent. This is a feature that is implemented only by a few CSI drivers at the moment. In my knowledge, it's just the Ceph CSI driver, and I know the Alibaba folks are implementing something like that. Longhorn, they are implementing it too. In the last 2 weeks, we merged a PR which is changing the API from V1 beta 1 to V1 beta 2. I hope the new one is easier to use. That was one of the reasons why we did it. And also to fix some minor bug that happened only when the CSI driver did not implement all the, let's say, optional gRPC calls. Yeah, that's it. So we are planning on using this new API for CloudNativePG because this is the API we should use, and this is the testing bed I have to check if everything is right. Because, Postgres is particularly sensible about data coherency, so yeah, we are able to spot if anything is okay or not.
So yeah.
Can I
So
ask you a
this-
quick question? How does this so I know how we do backup over here. So volume snapshot is good, but you also need to back up the walls between your volume snapshots. How are you envisioning that all to work?
So for volume, go Gabri, go.
Yeah. So basically, CloudNativePG provides two ways to back up with volume snapshots. One is hot backups. So you need WAL files, so you need a WAL archive. And the other one is cold backup. So by default, it shuts down a standby, takes a consistent snapshot, and resumes the standby. So that's consistent by default, but you cannot do point-in-time recovery unless you have, the WAL archive. So, yeah.
And this would be for the volume group snapshot, because you're saying that's consistent backups.
No, even the current, so basically the current implementation with volume snapshots, it already supports cold backups. Okay.
Okay.
So it's already there, it's documented. So our posture will be that by default we will not have any WAL, but any in-core WAL archive technology, but we will only have native support for base backups with volume snapshots. So we need to change the documentation.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, this is the documentation. I've worked a lot with the team here on backup solutions, and I'm really proud of the way the volume snapshot support is done in CloudNativePG, and I think we don't give it too much justice. But what we see is, for example, given that now even LVM is becoming popular, local volume snapshots are also an option. Okay.
Okay.
So,
No, the volume snapshots are great. I'm definitely I definitely like those. I just was wondering how that would interplay with the vol archiving, which you also need to do for the point in time. Yeah.
So yeah, you need the vol archive for point in time. And the last thing that I wanted to mention before we conclude, because we are over time, this is the important work that we've started last week in an emergency, because the official Docker image for Postgres project stopped building Bullseye and Bullseye images, and we basically procrastinated. We didn't move on time to the new system, to the new way we build images, which is in Bake, which is one of, according to what also people in the CNCF told us, one of the best ways, one of the best projects that builds images in the CNCF, CloudNativePG. Okay, so we've made a lot of changes, and we've deprecated the old system images based on the Docker image. So if you go here, you see there's a new documentation that explains what happened. So now it's clear. We say which versions of Postgres, the dates as well. It's clear also which releases of Debian we support, and we now give ample notice of when we're going to deprecate, for example, old stable. So the idea here is we try and do our best to support it until it's LTS, but if we see that there's too many CVEs, that the distribution is not updated anymore, with a 3-month notice period, we can stop building those images. But we commit to stable and old stable anyway. We have also, and this is the other important change, 2 important changes. Now it's clear which tags we support, and the rolling tags as well. And we have started to deprecate the rolling tags without the distribution and without the type. Okay, so we will keep them for now, but we are deprecating them. And the artifacts, the image catalogs, we used to maintain these 2 files with the legacy system. So as you can see, if you're familiar with the project, we have removed pretty much everything from the Debian folder, which contained the old way of building images. We only maintain the catalogs for back compatibility, but everything now is in the artifacts repository. So now we have a catalog per combination of image type and OS version. So if you click, for example, minimal Trixie, you've got also, we have added labels, so that if you want now, you can load all these cluster image catalogs in your cluster, Kubernetes cluster, and then look for them via labels. And here are the SHA, the digest references to the last version of the image that we maintain. So this is the work that we've done. The patch is not, the issue is not completed, so the epic is not completed, but I think we're probably in terms of complexity beyond 95% of the work done. Okay. And also this is in the direction, we're getting ready for when Kubernetes will support GA image volumes so that we can then have separate images for extensions, but that's another project and another idea that we want to throw here. The other missing bit is the PostGIS repository that we need to make a decision whether we duplicate these in the other project or we temporarily move PostGIS in this project, but we need help, we need volunteers, and we need people that that help us here. I mean, the situation now is much easier to maintain because the legacy ones were simply a nightmare. So now we clearly, for example, list the preview version. So we're already ready for when 19 point, the beta one of 19 is available. We just add it here and we'll have the images. So that's all. I don't know if you have any questions.
Wait, so that means you have containers available now for 18, like of the
RC1, yeah.
I didn't realize those were out there. That's great. There was a
So
thread about that in Slack.
Yeah, there's RC1. I tested it. I tested something with for a patch that Peter Eisentraut did in 18 for the SHA for the foreign data wrappers. Because that's the other cool thing is that Ying, she was our first mentee. She completed the mentorship successfully, and she was able. You probably saw that she was able to contribute the foreign data wrappers and the Clarity foreign data wrappers, and now we are reviewing her work. She did more than she was asked to do. So yeah, so this is the work that we merged. This will be in 128, and she also did this, and we are doing the final review. So now we can also easily create foreign data wrappers and servers and create user mappings without super user. Okay, so
How are you doing authentication? Are you storing the passwords in the database or are you using password files?
No, you use the user mapping. So at the moment, there's actually a work that Eisentraut has done in Postgres 18 that uses the Scram pass-through. I was actually testing it, but I couldn't make it work. That's why I was testing 18 today. The only place where we see, unfortunately, the user mapping needs to be done still manually. Okay, manually, I mean, it can be part of the schema. Okay.
Scram pass-through would be if like all of these sharding solutions that are built on top of FDWs would probably see a bunch of benefit from Scram pass-through working. Because I have this problem internally at my company. There's somebody that wants to use FDWs with CloudNativePG, and the problem that I've run into is authentication and like handling credentials in a secure way. Because I don't want the credentials just sitting in a system catalog view where anybody can see them, right?
So I was testing because Peter shared this with me today. So I was testing this today, but I couldn't make it work. Also, with Marco, I tried, but this is in Postgres 18. Use Scram pass-through.
This is really cool.
So the idea, but the benefit of the patch that we have introduced is that see the usage grant, you basically can, you don't need the super user to create foreign data wrappers and foreign servers. And
Sure, but
this,
the user mapping is just one piece. Like you still
yeah,
need to authenticate to the foreign server somehow, right?
look, this is,
Right. So there's the password.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately, I need to
So I think
password
if it's
there.
just if it's putting the password in the user mapping, that's going to store the password in the system catalog view. The alternative approach is you use like the PG pass file and you don't
Exactly, that's
include a
what I
password
was
here.
saying. That's what
Yeah.
that's how I started the conversation with Peter this morning. I said, look, why can't I pass the PG pass option here? And he said, you might want to try this. And I had read about the Scrum pass through, but I I didn't know. Okay, so that's how I decided to try this.
There's still a use case. So Scrum pass through, that Scrum pass through is only valid for the case where you have synchronized like credentials across multiple databases,
Yeah.
right? Because if that by definition is great, it's passing through the same Scram credentials to the remote. So the remote database has to have exactly the same Scram secrets as the local one. That's great for sharding solutions, but there's still like the normal use case of foreign data wrappers. Like I think the most common use case is people just connecting to a different database that has different credentials. So there's still value, and the PG pass, like why not just have the operator, the instance manager, manage the PG pass file separately?
No, we
It's
already
still more
do.
secure. Oh, you
We
do
do that.
already. Okay.
We already do. For the external clusters, we already do it. Okay, so let's
Okay.
say that this is just a first step. Okay, so that also allows us already, to have these conversations, which otherwise would not be possible. So it's already
Yeah.
an improvement. And also the value here is that, again, we are towards a microservice database. If we do this, we don't need super user to create the user mapping. As you can see here, I'm actually connecting using the
Okay. I'll go look. I didn't. So you're saying though, there's already a way that I can declaratively say, put these values in the PG pass file. It's going to read from Kubernetes secrets or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
And then
But
I should be able to, okay.
the user
Okay. That's what
mapping
I didn't know
for
that.
Postgres
Thanks.
FDW doesn't support that, as far as I know. So
Say that again.
if here we could pass a PG pass location, but it's not supported
By Postgres, you mean?
by Postgres. Yes,
Yeah, but there's a workaround. I mean, I
exactly.
can still, okay, that's not a big blocker to me.
It could be for 19, you know what I mean? So we could maybe, think for 19.
Okay.
Also, because if you have external secrets that changes the password, things like that, so. But yeah, you're right. I think we need a Scram generated outside the database, not like in this example where you can see it's reading from the PG-RTD of the node 1 and setting the password in the second one. Okay. Anyway, I think that's all.
I have one more topic related to the container build stuff, if you're
Okay.
finished.
Yeah.
So this whole Debian thing is a bit of a mess. Like ideally we wouldn't have to worry about this. I wish we didn't. A lot of it's driven by the collation stuff. So I sent an email to the hackers list earlier this week. Hasn't been any replies yet at all. I don't know. So the trouble is that I did a bunch of work around collation like a year and a half ago, and then I got a new job, and I've been spending all of my life on Cloud Native Postgres, and I haven't read the hackers list in like a year. So because there's too much email traffic, and I can't keep up. So I don't know if there's already been discussions about this, but the email that I sent, the thing about the Debian operating system changes. The big driving concern is collation stuff. If you're
Yes.
not using the operating system collations, it's much less of a problem. Like people can switch to Trixie and they don't need to worry about index corruption if they're not using Debian collations at all. And ICU has been out there for a long time. We've been trying to, I think even Peter Eisenstraw talked about this. There's a bunch of Postgres community people, but I was talking actually. So I met up with Nicolay last week. He was here in Seattle. One of the things that we talked about was ICU, and like his observation was the same as mine, that like very few people are using ICU, even though it's been in Postgres for a while, where they've been adding stuff to it, but it's just not getting a lot of adoption. And so this was my email to the hackers list. Like we have LLVM and we have JIT, and what Postgres does there is it turns it on by default and kind of encourages people to use it. And you can turn it off if you want. My question for Postgres and that I put to the hackers list is like, should we be more actively encouraging people to move toward ICU and to move away from right now by default today, still, if you install Postgres 18, it's not like it does. There's nothing about it that steers you toward ICU. All of your operating system collations are just right there out of the box. When you create database, if you want French collation, it's just going to, like, the easiest path is just grab it from the operating system, from Debian. And you're still stuck in this situation where now when Trixie, you think about the Trixie upgrade, you have to worry about it. So I don't know. My proposal on the list was, what if they were to, this would be a simple patch. The patch is not the problem. Like the question is whether people would agree on the idea. And the idea is when you run create database, by default, change the behavior so that it'll let you do C collation, but it won't let you do anything else from the operating system. It'll let you use ICU, and you can have a GUC that overrides the behavior. But effectively what this would mean is that going forward for newly created databases, it would discourage people from using the operating system collation by default. And you could write in the error message, if you try to say, German collation, French collation, Italian collation, whatever, you put your language in on the create database, collate French. The default behavior is you'll get an error message saying, you can change this GUC if you really want to use the operating system collation, but it's recommended to use ICU.
Yeah.
Right?
I haven't checked. What's the response so far?
None. So I sent the email, but nobody's replied yet. So
Okay,
it was only 2 or 3 days ago. And I think there's about
close to
5 people who really care about collation in Postgres. So most people see the email and just skip over it.
I'll double check with Jason internally. Yes.
Yeah. I think it's just a question that's worth asking. This doesn't break upgrades for anybody if you're just blocking it at the create database. I don't think it's a bad idea. And the thing is that from our perspective, like, this is the whole reason for all of the pain. Like all this container build stuff that we have to deal with, like it's because of this. This is the root cause. It's the underlying problem. So I do think it makes sense to this is why we have to waste all this time, and we have this emergency about if we didn't use the operating system collation, we wouldn't, like, it would be much less of an issue. We probably wouldn't care. So I really think we should try to continue to drive that conversation with the core Postgres community about making the collation story better and steering people toward ICU for the linguistic collation. And my opinion is, like, this isn't really satisfying, but I think the database default of C collation and then like doing it at the table level, but that doesn't really work very nice for people who don't speak English. So.
Well, no, and definitely we also need to document this. So that's also, we need to document change of distribution. I mean, we need to be careful. We cannot, unfortunately, foresee any all the problems, as you know. So we need to actually write a disclaimer. We also need to say the bullseye will be dismissed. So if you're on bullseye, you need to move to a newer operating system, but the might require even a dump and restore, in some cases, or a logical migration. But anyway, so this is also
Well, rebuild all the indexes is enough.
or rebuild the
usually.
indexes. Yes.
Most of the time, yeah. Like it's Nick and I are talking about this too. Like both of us are like aware that you can easily you can generate the problem with partitions, you can generate problems in other ways, but 99.9%, like neither of us in the wild, I have not seen a case, and Nick hasn't seen a case yet where somebody screwed up their partitions because of the collation. It's like what we've seen has been just indexes. So yeah, probably the index rebuild is enough.
I have another a thing about ICU. It's fine that we don't use the libc, but ICU has the same issue. So if you upgrade ICU, you cold break things. So,
but
in the end, we need to.
Yes, I agree. The one advantage that ICU has is that if it's a problem, like you can build the old version of ICU for the new version of Debian. Like you have that option. Trying to do that with it's actually been done with the operating system libraries. That's why that's what Joe Conway went and did. But it's like
it's
that's not something you
all
want
the
to
libraries
do.
that you need. I remember that Amazon ships the newer library with the old locale. It's a really ugly
that was
thing.
Joe Conway's work, yes, and it's published, but it's not something you want to do if you can avoid doing that.
And you are affecting probably other things in the operating system if you do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the reason that I make the argument of like setting your database locale to C, and then because that makes it very easy to know exactly which indexes you need to rebuild. If you specified your collations at the table level, it's very easy to query the system catalog and just get a list. Here's all my objects that are using a non-default locale, and I know exactly what needs to be rebuilt. Very simple. But it's that means all your create table DDL statements have to have those like collate clauses in them, and that I totally understand that if you're building an application that's not in English and you have to do that all the time, that's kind of a big pain in the butt. So
maybe you can have a default set database level, like an option GOOK or something like that. That will mitigate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is matter for hackers.
So ICU is still a problem, but I still think it's better than the operating system. And that was my email thread, was like, maybe we should start steering people away from the operating system libraries, because I think everybody agrees that's the worst, right? Or the biggest problem. So anyway, if you want to jump on that thread, or just give a reply and say, hey, I think this is worth the discussion at least, that would help.
Yeah. Mike, I think you should also, you're a Debian developer, so you should say that.
Yeah, I have a lot of things to do that I don't at the moment. So yeah, if I find the time, I will jump in the discussion. So yeah.
Anyway, I think we've 26. I'm 26 minutes late to the meeting. I should participate into. But anyway, this was very good. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone. And Keith, do you want to add this maybe to the next agenda?
I was just going to say I won't keep anyone here. Everybody's running late. So maybe I'll try and ask to get that added to the agenda for the next meeting. I jumped in one of your calls, I think it was early June, and we discussed this briefly. And someone had mentioned that they would either look into this or provide maybe an alternative solution. So we're just kind of interested to hear if this has any hope of being merged, or if there is another solution we could use.
Let me add it to the agenda. And yes, okay, we'll try and
Yeah. Or people can follow up right in the pull request or in Slack.
Yeah. So I did the
Oh, this is for reusing existing PVs. Yeah, this is a really.
Yeah.
I'll just sort of add to this, like, so we're running a lot of CNPG at my company as well, and it is like there's a basic mentality that you want to be very careful about deleting PVs because that's an irreversible action, right? So like we will sometimes, yeah, I agree. I can see a use case for this, keeping PVs around, a way to like recover
Yeah.
PVs, or even if you just want to investigate, like I have a PV sitting here, I want to pull it up to do some debugging and look at it. If I could reattach it, if there's a quick and easy way to spin up a cluster and reattach the existing PVs just to pull it up for debugging and investigation, the easier that is, the better.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
exactly. And Postgres, is very happy doing that. It's just the operator has opinions on.
Yeah, exactly. It's an opinion. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, this is worth looking at. We should spend some time on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
got
might
to
take
do
a look
with
at it
the
too.
maturity of how we grow, and I'm glad that all this stuff is coming out. But it's got to do a lot with the recovery process as well. Also, for example, in the future on incremental recovery, which is something that we don't do at the moment. So it could be good. For example, this is a PV. I want to use this PV to recover to a new version and change only the files that have changed in between, because we don't have at the moment, it's just full incremental. But I know Leonardo is following up the volume population feature of Kubernetes tightly. It's just that we don't have at the moment the focus for these, and we definitely, it's an area that we know we need to improve. It's just that we need, unfortunately, to sequence all these activities. But yeah, I've completely missed the previous meeting, but it was good. I mean, I really enjoyed this community meeting. I mean, I'm actually really happy as a maintainer to see the community grow this much, and I feel bad because I feel that we cannot keep up with everyone, but and I hope that people see that we're actually putting our best here. But anyway, so good. Okay.
So I guess I'll see you in 3 weeks then.
Yes, and we'll try and provide feedback. Okay, in the ticket. Okay.
Okay, sounds
Keith,
good. Thank you very much.
Keith, I'm reading over to. I'm going to take a look and add a comment on the feature, like the feature issue that is linked from the PR.
Okay. Super.
Thanks for pointing it out.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.